Good evening, and welcome to My Career, My Calling. This is your host, Stephanie Fletcher-Lartey, and I'm so excited to be with you for another program. Welcome to everybody, and I hope you are prepared for this evening's program because we're going to have another amazing time here in the studio. If you are joining us for the first time, this program is made possible by iCare Community Services, and My Career, My Calling is a multicultural weekly program that provides advice and information and inspiration for our community. The aim is to help our community to integrate into the Australian workplace, to find your dream and your passion and to pursue that effectively. So today I just want to welcome you to another edition of My Career, My Calling. And as I said before, I am your host, Stephanie Fletcher-Lartey. Now, if you have been following the announcements, then you would note that today we've got another great program lined up for you. And I just want to invite you now, before we get started, call a friend, call a neighbor, share our live stream with someone. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thanks for joining us. I'm just going to invite you right now, before we get into the program, share this live stream on your Facebook wall, on your timeline, or on your story, and encourage someone. We've got a special topic today, and as I promised, this week is your week. It's the week that you get to have your say in the program. And so I'm going to give you a moment to do that as we listen to one more song. This is My Career, My Calling. And I just want to say a big welcome to everyone who has joined us this evening, wherever you are watching us from this evening. I want to say a big thank you for staying with us, for always tuning in. Whether you're watching us from Australia, if you are watching us from the Pacific Islands or the Caribbean or the Northern Hemisphere, welcome to this program. I know that while this program was specifically designed for Australian migrants in mind, many people around the world have been touched and impacted and have found lots of inspiration from this program. And we are so happy that we are able to touch lives right around the world. So today, remember, you can give us a ring on our telephone lines. The lines are opening up in like 5 minutes time. So you can call us if you're calling from Australia. Please remember to put the New South Wales area code, which is number 2. And the number is 8006-0475. So that's 2-800-60475. If you are calling from overseas, please put the Australian area code, which is 61 before the 2, and give us a ring. We look forward to hearing you today, and we look forward to your participation in today's program. Now, as I said before, we are so excited about today's program, and we are more than happy to have you with us. And if you are joining us online, we look forward to hearing from you. Please invite someone to join us, invite someone to listen. Remember also, for those who are not on Facebook, they can actually listen to this program live on TuneIn on the Down on the Radio app. So you can listen offline. You can listen via the TuneIn app. You just look for Down on the Radio, and this program is broadcast live at the same time as it is shown on Facebook. Please also remember that after the program, we do upload our videos to YouTube on the My Career, My Calling YouTube platform, and you can watch at your own leisure. You can share that with family and friends and gain as much inspiration as you wish. So without much delay, I want us to get into today's program, and I want to encourage you today. Remember, I'm alone in the studio today. I want you to interact. I want you to send your questions. I want you to, interact and share your heart. I want to talk about something that is probably close to the heart of many people. Many of us, we talk about dreams, We all sometimes say, oh, I have a dream, or we may hear other people speak about having a dream. Now, everybody, their dream is different depending on, what you want in life. And one of the things that, we hear from time to time is that, oh, I have a dream to do this, or I have a dream to go this place, or I have a dream to achieve this, but today I wanted to really have a conversation about what does it mean to really have a dream. Now, to start us off, I want us to talk up, we've heard the famous I Had a Dream speech by Martin Luther King, and in his speech, one of the things he said, I still have a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. One day this nation will rise up and live up to its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream. Most people are familiar with Martin Luther King Jr., his speech about I have a dream. Now, what exactly does it mean to have a dream? So I want you to type your answer in the live stream on the comments, and I'll be sharing your feedback, and I'll also want you to send your questions to me. Now, I've prepared myself, and we're really going to talk about this today. Part of the reason why I wanted to talk about having a dream is because many people want to achieve something in life, but they actually don't know where they're going. They have no purpose. They just wake up every day and they just go through the motions. But then there are the other people who actually have a dream, and they get uprooted. And I'm speaking about this in the context of this program, where many people, they've got a dream. They thought about what they wanted out of life, and they were going about their business. And lo and behold, in the middle of this journey, they thought about migrating. Part of the dream may have involved the migration, but for some people, migration was not part of their dream. Or when they migrated, they recognized that the dream they had was not as easily achieved, or some of them lost their dream or felt like they would not be able to achieve that dream. And so that is the context in which I want us to talk about the dreams today. We're talking about finding and following your dream. So, what is a dream? Well, I looked at the Webster Dictionary today, and the definition was that a dream is a strongly desired goal or purpose. So a dream is something that you strongly desire. It has to be a goal, which means that it is outcome oriented. There has to be an outcome in view. There has to be something that is achievable. The dream is something that you are looking forward to and something you are working towards. Now, if I may reflect on dreaming, as a young woman growing up in Jamaica, I don't know whether I had a dream, to be honest. What I knew was that I wanted to be a good worker. I wanted to be a worker that my employer was proud of, somebody who was dependable. Part of my dream was that I definitely did not want to stay in the community where I grew up and become a time waster. I didn't want to be another useless person who just went to high school and graduated and just sat at home having babies, for 6 different men. And why do I say that? Because that was the reality of my situation where I was growing up at that time. So many people didn't move on. They stayed at home, and life was just normal for them. But thank God that around that time, times were changing, because historically, maybe traditionally, a lot of women did not go to university. A lot of women did not go to college and have a formal education. A lot of women did not desire this because society said a woman's place was in the home. So those women, they probably had a dream that they would get married and have 5, 6 children and become an excellent wife and a good housekeeper. Then there were the other rest of us who wanted to go on, have a formal tertiary education. We wanted to contribute to society and to make our mark. So it's in this context that I want us to really have a look on this issue about finding and fulfilling your dream. I think the time when I personally began to really dream was actually when I became a professional. I'd finished college and I was working in the community, a very rural area, and I started to recognize that I had some potential. But to be very honest, the scope of my vision was very narrow. All I could see were the senior staff around me within my immediate workplace. And I saw, some young people and some not so young who were going up the ladder. And I thought that, that's what I want to be because that's really all I knew. I didn't know any different. I didn't know any better. I just thought, oh, in my workplace, if you do another course in another 2 years, you'll get a promotion to another level and your salary will go up by, $50,000 and you're happy. But there came a time in my life when I began to get this revelation that that was not enough. It was not enough for me to just want that. And I believe it was this time when my dream broadened and I began to look beyond my immediate circumstances. And, as a Bible believing person, one of the things that I believe is the reason for this is the scriptures. And one of the scriptures that I read was in the book of Proverbs, and King Solomon said, where there is no vision, the people perish. The other translation says they cast off restraint. Or where there is no vision, people are loose. They have no purpose in life. Basically, in a layman's translation, that's what it means. But he that keepeth the law is happy. I believe that God has a plan for every single person's life. And so I believe that one of the ways that in which we actually partner with God is by dreaming. Because in order for God's plans to be realized in your life, you actually have to begin to desire it. Because while miracles are possible, some of the things that God need to achieve in your life, which is part of God's plan, is actually going to come through the dreaming. You have to begin to desire that thing. You have to begin to perceive it. It has to become visible to you. It has to take shape so you can actually now begin to desire it and begin to pursue it. So that's my own definition of what a dream is. Something that is inspired. It's a goal that you want to achieve, but I believe that your goal is driven by something bigger than yourself. It's your purpose for which you were created that should help to define and shape your dream. Now, unfortunately, not everybody has that revelation. Not everyone has that kind of faith and belief that your dream is fashioned and shaped by the Creator. And so people sometimes dream and pursue the wrong things. So I hope that today we are able to shed some light and guide each other in the right direction and help us to begin to think about what is really my dream and how can I pursue that dream. So before I begin to share with you, how you can define your dream, I also want to share that one of the things that has inspired me personally is the word of God, which says that I know the plans that I have for you. Plans, it's based on thoughts of peace and not of evil, but to give you an expected end. And I believe that if I should really shape dream it's going to be in that context. The dream is actually bigger than you. It's really about the thoughts that God has towards you, and these thoughts have an expected end. And so when you begin to dream, the dreams are actually positioning you so that this expected end can actually occur and come to pass. All right? So I hope those of you who are listening online, I can see you. Pam Sue Molokan, I can see you. Anne Marie Williams Cooper. Wow. I can see Daniel. I can see Felicitas, Gamuchirai. I can see Juliet. All of you, please send me your feedback. Let me know how you feel. Have you got a dream? What is your own definition of a dream? Have you got another perspective to share on this topic that we're talking about today? I would love to hear your feedback. Remember, you can also give us a ring on our phone lines, and I'd love to hear from you as we converse together. So give us a ring on 02-800-60475, and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. I'd love to hear from you as we continue with this conversation. All right. So while we're waiting for your call, let me share something that I have found that I think is really useful. Sometimes I hear my pastor always say that if your dream is too small, if your dream is so small that you can accomplish it by yourself, then it's not a dream at all. Your dream needs to be bigger than you. Your dream has to be something that is large, that you need others to help you achieve it. And for those of us who are maybe from the more individualized cultures, we might think that, oh, that's rubbish. But I actually believe it. A dream is not something that is so small. If you look at all the famous people, all the people who are the household names that we all know, even though we've never met them, if you look at their stories, you will see that a lot of these people will describe that I had a dream. I had a vision that I'm going to be this one day, and I've failed multiple times. But because of this vision, this dream that I had, I continued to pursue it. And so, yes, your dream needs to be bigger than you. All right? So, the first step, I believe, in this whole process is really to define what your dream is. It's really important to know what your dream is, because you can't achieve something that you don't know what it is. You need to have an idea. What exactly is my dream? What is it that I want to achieve? And as I said before, your dream should be driven by a purpose that is bigger than yourself. It's something that it's not just my dream is to get up tomorrow and eat fufu. My dream has to be bigger than the food that is going to be on my plate, because otherwise that's really, anybody can achieve that. Anybody can eat rice and peas for dinner. The dream should be bigger than that. So those are desires. They're not really dreams. Now, how to start following your dream? Or before I go to that, let's talk about, how to define your dream. A lot of people don't figure out what it is they want, or they don't understand. As I said, when I was younger, I really didn't know what my dream was. All I knew was I didn't want a certain condition in my life. I didn't want to be stagnant. I didn't want to just be sitting in my community doing what everybody else was doing. But to be very honest, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to be, or what my dream was, until a bit later in life, when I began to get more experience. I started to realize that, hang on a second, there are a few things that are coming to my heart. So one way to be able to define your dream is to think about something that moves you. What is it that you're passionate about? What is it that wakes you up? What is it that provokes you? What is it that you walk out and see that you don't stop you think about it for a long time? What is it that if you could push a magic button and have your greatest dream fulfilled, what would that be? And usually that is how you begin to identify, hang on a second, I'm really passionate about X, or I'm really passionate about Y. Now, if I could give you an example, when I was a young child, I loved hanging out with old people. My parents, my siblings, and everybody who knows me in my community where I grew up, they know that I love to go to old people's house, like the elderly. I was always hanging out with elderly people. I had a passion for people. I was not shy, and I could talk to anybody. And I believe that my parents also saw that. So sometimes when they needed to do visitation, or they needed to send something to someone, even though I had much older siblings, my parents would sometimes send me because they knew that I wouldn't mind going to look for the old people. Like I would actually put my hand up to go and visit them. When I grew up and I became a teenager and I started to have my first job, I was working in the library, and one of my colleagues, a much older young man, called me one day and he said, "There's something special about you." And he began to recognize that I had a way with people because the library is a public place where lots of people come. And one day he was just watching me and he said, "Can I talk to you?" And he actually was the one who introduced me to public health. And the rationale he gave was, you have a way with people. You're comfortable talking to people. You don't seem to get fazed by issues, and you always come up with solutions. And I never really knew much about public health at the time. And he said to me, "You would do so well in public health because you would do really well working with the community." And for those, as you already know, I actually pursued a career in public health out of the encouragement by someone who recognized that I actually had those attributes. So one of the things was, what were you passionate about? I am passionate about fighting against injustice. Everybody who knows me knows that I will stand up in any forum and talk against injustice. It's me. It's part of my nature. I cannot stand injustice. And it doesn't matter how large the forum is, I will stand up and speak. And over time, I started to realize, like, hang on a second. All these characteristics that God has put into me is because of the pathway He wanted my life to take. So what I'm talking about is, how do you define your dream? You begin to define your dream by recognizing those things that you are passionate about, the things that you begin to recognize that this is where I'm driven. This is something I can't get enough of, or I am always interested in knowing more about this. So you will see the patterns begin to shape and to form. Now we've got a few comments online. So Gamuchira is saying, "I have heard once that if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough." And I believe that it must be something that aligns well with your purpose also. Thank you, Gamuchirai. And I totally agree with that statement. Your dream has to be scary. And at some point in time, maybe in the near future, I will tell you about my big scary dream that I see unfolding right before my eyes, So having that, your dream needs to be something that motivates you, but it should also be something that stretches you, that you have to push yourself to achieve it. Now, your dream can be anything that you desire. It could be your dream to become a certain professional. It could be a dream that is not necessarily centered around your job, but it could be a dream of figuring out how to progress your life. Like what is the order in which your life should be taken, but it must be meaningful to you, and it should not be harmful to yourself and to other people. Yeah. So if you are not sure whether you have a dream, one way you could identify that is by asking people around you that you trust to say, based on the time that you've known me, if you look at my life and observe me, what would you say I'm good at, or what am I passionate about? Where do you see my life going? And sometimes that starting that conversation can help you to begin to identify. Sometimes when you begin to talk out loud about something, you begin to recognize that, hang on a second, actually, I like this and I like that. And this thing is something I'm really passionate about. And the reason why I'm saying that is, some people are restricted by their environment and by the people around them. And because your context or your environment does not encourage you to speak about what you desire or what you want, because of that lack of ability to articulate what you want, you can often not really see it. The moment you begin to talk about it, it's almost like your words have begin to put something into shape, and the picture begins to form in front of you. And then you begin to think, oh, hang on a second. Actually, I really like this. And actually, to be honest, I really am an outspoken person. I'm really not that shy. The reason why I keep quiet is because I'm not given permission to speak, or I'm not empowered to speak out. But if I had the opportunity to speak about this, I actually could really talk about it. So sometimes the environment does not support you to recognize your dream. And so my encouragement is, if you can find a safe space to begin to look into what is it that motivates you, what is it that inspires you, what is it that makes your eyes light up, what is it that consumes you, what is it that you go to bed and you can't sleep because your whole thought pattern is consumed with, how can I do this? And usually those things are associated with the dream that you have. All right, so let me have a quick check-in online. And Parmasu Molokan, oh, my former classmate from high school, thanks for joining us. Moses Chitanda, Pastor Roger Owusu, thanks to all of you for joining us. Now, I don't want you to just stay there and just listen to me. I want you to send your comments, send me your questions, share, what's your perspective? Give me your perspective on this topic that we're talking about. How can we identify those dreams and how can we fulfill them, even though we have moved from our comfort zones and moved to a new country? How can we continue to pursue those dreams? All right, I've moved from our comfort zones and moved to a new country. How can we continue to pursue those dreams? All right. So how can we start to follow these dreams? Well, I looked online and I was looking at different things that people say about finding and following your dreams. And I actually found a really good article written by the Hope Line that spoke about a 6-step plan to fulfilling your dream. And I thought that was really succinct and very valuable to share. So I'm going to share with you a 6-step plan to fulfilling your dream. So once you've identified this dream, it's important to recognize it and to document it. I think one of the biggest moments in my life was when I actually realized I could write my dream down. Wow. Writing my dream down, seeing it in letters and words, and starting to begin to think, how can I make that thing happen? So the first step that I suggest in fulfilling your dream is have a clear vision for where you want to go. You need to have a clear vision for where you want to go. And that is what I said, write it down. Where am I going? Because as my pastor always said, if you don't know where you are going, any road will take you there, or any destination will become your destiny. Anywhere you stop will be your destination. So the vision, the dream, you have to write it down. Have a clear view of where you want to go. Yeah. Take time to define it. And yes, you can put scope around your dream. Yes, you may want to become a pilot, but you might say, actually, I want to become a pilot who flies to the moon. I don't want to just fly commercial airlines. I want to become an astronaut. I'd love to fly something, but I don't just want to fly a plane in the atmosphere. I want to go into the third heavens where I want to go beyond planets. So put some scope around your dream. Write it down and examine and talk about where exactly do you see yourself going with your dream. Now, sometimes in order to really visualize and to get the full understanding of what your dream is to actually find other people who are on a similar journey with you. And so the second step is find people who are doing the same thing or who are on the same journey. because there's nothing better than having a companion to talk through, and this is where even a mentor comes in, and we've spoken at length about mentorship here on this program. It's so important to have a mentor. So while you are pursuing your dreams, sometimes you need someone who has already been on that journey, who understands the pitfalls, who understands all the ruts in the roads, all the challenges, and or also to give you the big picture. It's not like you're not going to have challenges, but you need someone who's been on the journey that can help you navigate, to say, okay, this is where you want to go. However, the pathway to get there is actually through this direction. Because sometimes people want to get to somewhere, but they don't want to follow the path. They don't want to put in the hard work. They don't want to do the investment. They don't want to spend that time preparing themselves, disciplining themselves to actually achieve it. So yes, I want to become a consultant nurse. But have you been to nursing school? You can't be a consultant nurse without the qualification. So the first step is to become a nurse. And when you become a nurse and you want to become a consultant, maybe find someone who's been a consultant before and ask them, so what is the pathway to becoming a consultant? This has, this has always been your dream. Now, wow, the comments are just going off. The comments are going off. I've seen your comments. I will come. I've seen your questions and I will answer that in a few minutes. So Gamuchira is asking, did you ever feel like you were stuck in your journey towards your dream? Like reaching it seemed impossible at some stage? Of course, many times. And I will give you an example a little bit from now. Augusta says, a dream has to do with something you are desiring to achieve in life, which requires determination, consistency, and focus. No matter what may have tried to pull you down, you keep pushing till you succeed. And for you to achieve that, you also need inspiring people around you, people that will also add value to your life and keep motivating you till you achieve success. And you couldn't have said it better. That's exactly what we're talking about, finding those people around you to help motivate you and to push you along the journey. So number one was you need a clear vision. You need to write it down. Second one, you need to find some people who are doing the same thing, or find some mentor, someone to help you to work it out. What exactly is the journey like? The third step is figure out the steps that you're going to take to get there. So yes, I know that my dream is to become the prime minister. But how does someone become a prime minister? I need to look at, okay, how have all the other prime ministers, what was the pathway they took? How were they different from other people? Why were those people prime minister and not the other ones? Begin to look at the steps that people have taken to get to their destination, to achieve their dreams. And you're going to need a lot of help, because sometimes to define the step, because you don't know, you're going to have to do research. You're going to have to find, talk to some other people. How did you do this? Can I shadow you for a day? I want to see what's the process like. When I came to Australia, I really wanted to get back into public health. So I was working in academia for quite a while. I was working in the university, doing a lot of amazing things, which I've already shared. However, my passion is actually public health and mainstream public health. Because yes, while I have the qualification to work in academia, I really felt like my purpose was really for the people. And so, yes, while I believe that I could stay in an academic institution and train up people, I felt like the other part of my dream was not going to be fulfilled in that area. And so I made a decision that I wanted to see what public health was like in Australia. What did I do? I met a gentleman at a conference one of the years while I was presenting at a conference in Australia, and he was an epidemiologist. And we got to talking, and I asked him, so what is it like? And eventually, when he saw how excited and how passionate I was, he asked me, would you like to come and visit our department? And I took the train from Sydney to Newcastle. It was more than 2 hours just to go and spend a day in a public health unit to see what work was like in Australia. Because yes, I'd worked in Jamaica for almost 15 years, but I'd never worked in a public health unit in Australia. So what am I saying? You have to figure out the steps to get there. And that day, when I spent that time with them in Newcastle, I was able to speak to the different people that made up the team and saw how the whole big picture fitted together. And I also saw the pathway that I could take to get to where I wanted to be. So, it's really important to be able to identify the steps that you need to take to get to where you are. And I think it's a good time for me to answer Gamuchirai's question. Have you ever felt stuck in your journey towards your dream? Like reaching it seemed impossible at some stage? Yes, many times. And I could give you different different scenarios. But one of the times when I really felt frustrated was actually while I was doing my PhD. And I was studying in the Faculty of Science, and they were all scientists. I was the only public health person in the entire faculty. Now, the scientists were all busy running experiments. I didn't even know how to set up a test tube or a beaker. I didn't have the capacity to do it. But what I knew was epidemiology. I knew how to make sense out of data and how to interpret that and how to provide good advice to the people who needed to use that data. And I remember, because there were so many negative thoughts around me, it's like, what are you doing? Is this even research? I remember one guy actually said, is that even research? Like, how can somebody get a PhD with what you're doing? Because all his entire life, he was told that to become somebody, you have to go into a lab and run an experiment. I don't hold it against him. He didn't know better. But there was a point in time when I actually became frustrated. And I thought, so what am I going to do with this PhD when I finish anyway? I've got a PhD. Those people don't think I'm a scientist. And I don't think I'm a scientist. So what am I going to do when I'm finished? And I remember there were days when I felt frustrated. But you know what? I had a dream. I knew that I had a purpose. I had something in my heart that was driving me that said, yes, you might not know exactly where this is going to take you right now, but this was part of the journey. This is one of the steps that you wrote down that was to take you to your destination. So it's like saying, I'm traveling from here to Paris, but this is just, I'm in transit. My destination, I stopped in LA, but LA was not my destination. So yes, I'm in Los Angeles, but my journey is actually taking me to Paris. And so, as frustrating as it is that I have to spend a little time in Los Angeles, my destination is Paris. And so yes, Kamuchirai, there were days when I felt frustrated, and I actually sometimes felt, well, is what I'm doing now really taking me in that direction? And I can tell you so many times, there were times when I applied for jobs when I felt like this is a job that fits the dream that I have, and I got rejected. And I remember the last one I applied for, which was a bit hard. It was really heartbreaking. I was pretty certain I was going to get that job because it's the job that is my dream job. I applied for the job and I did what I thought was an excellent interview. And when you've done that interview and you feel confident that you hit the right notes that they were looking for. And I was a bit shocked when they said I didn't get the job. And God would have it that the person who interviewed me came to Australia to a conference a couple months ago, and I met the person. And when I went to say hello, and he said, I interviewed you for a job the other day. And I said, yes, but you didn't give it to me. And I was kind of wondering why you didn't provide any feedback. And he mentioned something that the candidate who actually was successful had a particular skill that they were looking for, which they felt like I didn't have. And my Nigerian friends would say, Chineke. I actually was shocked when he said that. because that is actually probably my best skill that I have. But somehow or the other, it didn't come out in the interview. It didn't come across to them. I didn't have an opportunity to demonstrate that I had that skill in the interview. And so they gave it to somebody else. Yes, I was disappointed. Did I give up? No. I did not give up. I said, well, apparently that one was not for me. But I am not giving up on my dream because I know what is in my heart and I know what I've been working towards all these years. And I believe that the time will come when that dream that I have, it will not just be something that I perceive, but it will become a reality. And I have continued to pursue that. I haven't given up on it. I have continued to pursue that dream, and I know the day will come when that dream will become a reality. So first thing we're going to do is to catch a clear vision. We're going to find people who are on the journey and draw near to them and get, information. We're going to thirdly figure out the steps to get you there. And fourthly, set large and small goals and track your progress to keep you motivated. Another person will tell you need to make some long-term goals and some short-term goals. You're going to make some long-term goals, which is, in the long term, this is actually where I want to be. But in order to get me up to that long-term goal, I need to achieve these small goals along the way, which will help me. And one thing, let's say your dream is about your profession or your career, because that's what we're talking about. One of the short-term goals could be, there are certain qualifications and experience that I need to be able to do that big job. So in the next 5 years, I want to get these skills. I want to get experience doing X, Y, and Z roles. And while I'm doing that, these are adding to my experience. It's adding to my ability to function at a higher level. So that is one thing that is very, very important. Taking little steps, doing little things. The short-term goals, the reason why we need short-term goals is the little wins along the way is what helps to carry you. When you set the short-term goals, when you accomplish one of them, you become motivated to continue and to move on. The converse is also true. If you set short-term goals and something happens along the way, then you have a chance to revisit and to reorient yourself and say, actually, that's not going to take me where I'm going. So having the short-term goals along the way gives you an opportunity to evaluate your progress and to see where you are. There are gaps for improvement. There are things that needs to be worked on and so on. So it's really important to have the short-term goals, which are the ones that help you to achieve the long-term goals. Now, while I'm waiting for you, we are going to go to the fifth step in the process, is to be prepared for setbacks. And I kind of touched a little bit on that in the step before, about when you have the short-term goals that are preparing you for the long-term one, there could be setbacks. There could be things that, as you are trying to achieve the short-term goals, you realize that, oh, hang on, maybe I need to change direction. Maybe this is actually not going to be as valuable as I thought it would be. So it's important that you change direction. Setbacks can also come along the way because of many different things. It can be, so many things. It could be sickness. It could be family life. It could also be people. People can put roadblocks in your way, and it is our reality. But it's important for you to be prepared to deal with those. How am I going to deal with a setback if something happens in my family? What if if as a woman, what if I get married, I have a baby? How am I going to still pursue my dream? If there's illness, if I lose my parents, maybe the ones who are paying for this course or the ones who have been supporting me financially, what will happen if that is no longer there? How will I fulfill this dream? What if, I get a job in a place where my supervisor doesn't like me. How am I going to deal with that? Am I going to stay there and weather the storm, or am I going to move on and get another job? It's really important to prepare for the setbacks. It's very, very important to prepare for the setbacks. It's important to have a plan B. What is my alternative route to get me to this destination? Is a thing that we do in project management, and it talks about the alternative routes. Sometimes you actually need an alternative route. Sometimes it's a shortcut or it's a long one. So for some people, your shortcut, you need a shortcut. Yeah. And when I say shortcut, I'm not talking about 419. I'm talking about something that can accelerate your progress if there is a setback. So yeah, if there's a setback, if I got married and I had a baby, I've been out of the job, out of work for a couple months, but my desire, my dream is to become a professor, and to become a professor, I need to have certain amount of years consecutive of doing research and getting grants. How am I going to get to that destination without the system blocking me? So you're going to think about what is possible. What are the things that can support me to get to that destination? That was number 5. And number 6 is find a way to use your dream to help other people. And this is the part I love best. One of the greatest things that I have experienced along my journey as I am preparing to accomplish my big dream is the motivation that I get from inspiring people along the way. I love the fact that I get to mentor people. I love to impart knowledge and wisdom to my students. I love to see other people thriving. I love to see people who are coming up the ranks, and I can say to them, when I got to that place, there was a pitfall there. Make sure you avoid it. I get so much pleasure from telling somebody, like, these are the strategies I use. I love that so much, because I feel like part of the reward, part of the celebration along the way is when you get to share those success stories or your own failures. The most beautiful thing is when you have a young person or someone who is coming up the ranks, and you can say to them, you know what, I tried that and it really didn't work because of X, Y, or Z. You might want to think of trying a different approach. Yeah. It's such a great feeling to be able to encourage someone, use my dream to help other people. Yeah. Remember, your dream is not just for you. Your dream is not just for you. The dream is for a purpose. And that is why I believe, as what's her name, Augusta said, your dream must be bigger than you. It must be something that you need other people to help you achieve. And that is why, while you are achieving your dream, it's important for you to bring people along the journey with you and help them to achieve their dream. And I believe that, look, in a nutshell, your dream is not just happening just because you want it. It's easier. If it's easy, everybody would be doing it. But as I started off this program by saying, I believe that your dream is fueled by a greater purpose. And that greater purpose, I believe, is tied up in your destiny. God designed you. God designed me. God designed us with a greater purpose in mind. And the only way that we can partner with God to see this happen is when we begin to dream. Now, before I finish this off, it would be remiss of me if I don't talk about the transplantation process. Many of us, we moved from our home countries where we started dreaming, and we moved to a foreign country. A lot of people actually lose sight of their dream when they moved overseas because of the challenges that they face along the way to get a job, to continue to pursue their career of choice. A lot of people have lost focus of their dreams. We have shared on this program, people have given us feedback how they were a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, people who have finished their undergraduate and postgraduate studies, and they moved overseas. And because the system has boxed them in, they have given up on their dreams. We have doctors who are now receptionists. We have nurses who are doing admin jobs. We have people who have years of experience who are doing completely, they're driving taxis. Dentists who are driving Uber. Not because that's what they love, but because they cannot pursue their chosen profession in the country, because they cannot be accredited, they can't get their license and so on. But that dream is still in there somewhere. But some people have decided, look, it's too hard. I can't bother. I met a lady very recently, and she told me that she's a trained nurse. She had many years of experience, and I really felt it for her. And she said, I've come to this country and I've trained as a nurse in Australia. Imagine that. It's hard enough when you train overseas and you have to come and pass the exam here. But when you have trained here under the Australian system and you can't get registered as a nurse, that is even worse. I know doctors who have gone through the system, they have done all the necessary requirements, but they couldn't pass the exam because of their English. What do you do? What do you do? It's your dream. All your life you've been saying, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. But no, you're a housewife. Because nobody will employ you. You have 3 degrees and you can't get registered. Do you give up on your dreams? Do you allow the environment to choke you and to deny you of your purpose? How do you work around this? Now, if time we're out of time this week, but I think we will have to continue this next week, because next week I might need to talk to you about the dream killers and how you need to take authority over those things, how you are going to overcome those things that kill your dream. You know, it's really important that when you have a dream, you know this dream is your dream that God has given you, and that you recognize that this is your God-given destiny. And it doesn't matter how difficult it is. If God has put this dream in your heart, then God is able to help you to achieve that dream. And you must be willing. Remember, this thing we started off by saying is, your dream, if it is too small for you alone to do it, then it's not a dream. It's not big enough. You need people along the journey. And sometimes, yes, you have to drive the Uber until you figure out who those people are or what that thing is that you need to do. So you're going to drive Uber until you can do that extra course that you need to do. You're going to drive that Uber until you are able to save the money that you need to pay for the license or to do that accreditation. Or I might need to move to Western Australia to get experience in a remote area that I need and come back to Sydney 5 years later. Maybe what you need, that's, what we got, I'm not saying the thing you are doing is not honorable. I'm talking about your dream. The dream you had, the dream that you have so invested in that seems like it is slipping out of your hands. It's very important that it doesn't matter. Remember, if you are at the bus stop, you're not at your destination. So it's very important that you identify those things that come to steal and to kill your dream, and you must be prepared to fight and overcome them. Now, I want to end on a note by saying, whatever might come your way to bring discouragement, whatever might choose to come and take you away from your dream, it's really important that you don't give up. It's so important that you continue to just let the passion, let that passion that started you off fuel you and motivate you. Just remember, as long as you are heading in the right direction, you are being successful. Every single step that comes along that journey is a step closer to fulfilling your dream. And it's so important that we really continue to pursue that dream. Now, I'm just going to check in one more time on Facebook. Augusta says, dreams has to do something with you desiring to achieve in life, what requires determination and consistency and focus. No matter what may have tried to pull you down, you keep pushing till you succeed. And I think it's such a beautiful note to end on today. And I just want to say, thanks for those who have commented. Thanks for those who are watching us. Winston Stewart is watching us from Jamaica. Trevor Richards, thanks for your comment. God-fearing Adams, Anna, thank you so much for all your comments. Thank you for contributing to our conversation today. Look, we've run out of time today, and I believe that we'll have to continue this topic next week. So thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, I think it is most appropriate to finish the show with this song this evening. Remember, whatever you are going through, don't give up.